Hey, welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. In the series of pattern printing, so far we have seen so many patterns. In this video, we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So, if you could carefully observe this pattern, we are having this particular pattern coming completely to the right side. And also, we are having this particular alphabet, which is A, having in this diagonal. Later, we have B in this diagonal. So like that we are having these alphabets. Apart from that, in every single row, if you compare the starting value, which is 5, in the first row we have 5 alphabets, in the second row we have 4 alphabets, in the third row we have 3 alphabets. Like that, as and when the number of rows are increasing, the alphabets keeps reducing. At the end we have only one alphabet here. So like that, this pattern is having this shape. So let us go ahead and see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So in order to print this particular pattern, we will take 5 rows because we have 5 rows, right? So for that reason, I will take a variable rows and I will assign the value 5 here. So apart from that, if you could observe this pattern carefully, we have spaces before these particular alphabets here, right? So for that reason, we need to print these spaces in order to get the exact pattern. So for that reason, I will use spaces is equal to 0 because in the first row we don't have any spaces before these alphabets, right? So after that, what I will be doing is that in order to keep track of these alphabets, I will use a variable alpha and I will assign the alpha with a. So the only thing we need to realize is that we cannot directly keep track of these alphabets directly. So for that reason, we need to convert these alphabets to its equivalent integer numbers and keep track of them. So in order to convert them, we will be using ASCII codes. So if you don't know about ASCII codes and if you don't know how to convert this particular alphabets to its equivalent ASCII values, I will sincerely suggest you to watch my first video about alphabets pattern printing where I have explained clearly. So in this video, we will be knowing only the information which is required to print this particular pattern. So for that reason, we need to convert this particular alphabet A into its equivalent integer number. For that reason, in Python, we have a specific method which is ORD. So by using this ORD method, we can actually convert this alphabet to its equivalent integer number. So for that reason only, I am mentioning ORD here. So after that, in order to generate this many number of rows here, I will use a for loop. So for I in range, so now we will be generating those range of values here. So what are the range of values we are going to generate here? So by observing this pattern, we can observe that this pattern is starting with a value of 5 values here and going till the value of 1. So for that reason, I will start with 5, which is nothing but rows here, right? So I need to go till the value of 1. So for that reason, I will mention 0. So by the functionality of this range, we will be stopped at the value of 1 itself. So after that, I will be mentioning -1 so that the values will keep reducing. So in this for loop, I will print the value of I in order to know what values we have got. So as we have expected, we have got the values 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So now you can compare these values of I with this particular pattern here in order to generate all these values. So in the first row here, in this pattern we have got 5 values, right? So in the value of I we have got 5. In the second row we have got 4. In the value of I we have got 4. So like that, in every single row we can compare with this particular I to generate those many number of values, or you can consider alphabets, right? So for that reason, in order to generate these repeated statements in every single row, I will use another for loop here. So for a in range, so now as we have discussed, the range of values should be starting with 1 and go till the value of I plus 1. So by the functionality of this range, we will be stopped at the value of I itself, because we have understood that by using these values of I, we can generate these values here. So in this for loop, what I will be doing is that I will print the value of alpha here. So if I directly print the alpha, I will only get the values which are integer values. So I don't want integer values, I want the alphabet. So for that reason, I am mentioning this particular CHR method. So this CHR method is responsible to convert this equivalent integer numbers to its equivalent alphabet. So for that reason only I am passing this alpha to CHR method. So after that what I will be doing is that if I directly execute this, we will be getting everything in a new line like this. So in order to format this particular pattern in this shape, we need to do some formatting. For that reason, I am mentioning end with a single space. So by mentioning this end with a single space, we will be getting every value in a single row. So by default, this end is having new line character. So that is the reason we are getting like this. So after that, what I will be doing is that I will print a new line character here after completion of this inner for loop. So because of that reason, I am mentioning print. Print is having end parameter having the value new line. So for that reason, we can able to get new line. So now if I execute this, we are getting in this shape. So first we will arrange the shape so that we will be focusing on getting the values. So now we have got this shape. So in order to arrange like this, as we have discussed earlier, we first need to print the values, right? Print the spaces. So in order to get the exact pattern. So for that reason, in this outer for loop, I am printing the spaces. So I am mentioning a space and I will multiply the space with the spaces variable in order to get the exact number of spaces. So in here, I will also mention this end as nothing. So by default, end is having new line character. By mentioning this, we are overriding the new line character with nothing. So after that, as you can observe, in every single new row, the spaces are keeps increasing by 2 spaces. Like that, the spaces are increasing, right? So for that reason, we need to increase the spaces. So for that, after completion of this for loop, I am increasing the spaces here. So now if I execute this, we can able to get the pattern. The only thing we need to do is that we need to get this particular alphabets, exact alphabets. So to do that, we will be modifying this code a little bit. So what modification we need to do is that here, if you observe, we are initializing this alpha here. The thing we need to initialize this alpha is inside of this outer for loop. So by initializing this alpha, inside of this outer for loop, what will happen is that if you compare this pattern carefully, if you consider this pattern carefully, in every single row we are starting with a and going till some alphabet, right? So it doesn't matter which alphabet we are going, we are starting with alphabet a, right? So for that reason we are need to start with this particular alphabet inside of this for loop. So this inner for loop is responsible to generate the alphabets which are starting with alphabet a. So for that reason, to catch up with the value a, every time we are mentioning this alpha inside of this outer for loop. So now I hope you can able to understand why I have mentioned this alpha inside of this outer for loop. So after this, we need to increase the value of alpha in order to get b after a, c after b. So for that reason, I am mentioning alpha plus equal to 1 so that we can increase the value of alpha. So now if I execute this, we can able to get the exact pattern. That is what we have got here, right? So now I hope you can able to understand this logic to generate this kind of pattern. So if you found any difficulty while understanding, I sincerely suggest you to watch the video once again carefully so that you can understand the logic clearly. So now what we will be doing is that we will dynamically take input of these rows by the user and print the pattern accordingly. So for that reason, int input enter rows. I'm asking user to enter rows here. So now if I execute this, so it was asking me to enter rows. If I give let's say value 3 here, we can able to get the pattern. That is what we can expect with value 3. So if I give let's say value 8 here, so still we can able to get the pattern completely coming to the right side and having this diagonal shape of alphabets going till the value of h, which is the equivalent value of 8. Right? So now I hope you can able to understand this logic and I hope you can able to generate this pattern by any number given by the user. So in the next video we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern here. So in this pattern, we are having the A here in this shape and later we have B in this shape like C, like D, like at the like still we are going till the value of e. So in the next video we will see how we can print it. So to stay updated with my latest videos, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So if you found this video interesting, hit the like button. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next.